Hello, everyone. This is Tommy at World at War Comics. Today, we have another amazing guest. This time, we're speaking with Devin Arscott. He is one of the writers and creators of Magnus. Magnus is by Wise Acre Comics. It's published by Godhood Comics. And I'm telling you, it is an amazing, amazing series. They have 3 issues out right now. I'm sure a third one is coming very soon. We have issue 1. Here's issue 2 and issue 3 of Magnus. It is an incredible story, follows a young man named Magnus who comes from a lineage of superhumans, but he doesn't know it yet, but he's about to find out in issue 1. And then you see the ramifications of all that moving forward. Don't miss this interview. It's going to be incredible. Devin is an amazing writer, and Magnus is an incredible comic that you should be owning. They also just had a successful Kickstarter for another comic under the Wise Acre label, and that's called Crisis, which I've already purchased, so I can't wait for those to come in. And then currently right now, you could go to their website, Wise Acre Comics, and you could purchase The Meadows, which is their 3rd comic book under the Wise Acre comic line. Without further ado, make sure you subscribe, make sure that you put on the ringtone so that you get notifications. And without further ado, here is Devin and I. Thanks, everyone. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Devin, thanks for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, we have Devin Arscott. He is one of the writers for Magnus by Wise Acre Comics. I think it was published through Godhood. This particular book, incredible. I fell in love with it, Devin. So I started with issue 1, jumped in. I'm like, dude, the art is incredible. The story is amazing. So then I had to go back and buy issue 2 and 3. And I just got done telling you, I can't wait for issue 4 to come out to see where this story's going.
I'm very happy to be here. I appreciate you having me on. And I'm glad to hear that you very much enjoyed Magnus.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to actually be on that. I had worked with Wise Acre Comics prior, a different series, like it was a sci-fi book. I believe it was called Ages Dawn, which is supposed to be coming out again, revamped. I've seen a couple of new pages, so it looks great. But that was my initial introduction. Then I was asked to do Magnus not long afterwards, and then I just fell in love with the project. I think I've written 16 issues. And then I gave them something special to use for later.
Wow. So you're that far along in Magnus, up to 16 issues already?
Yep.
Wow. Well, that's exciting, man. As a fan, that's pretty cool, man.
Almost definitely. And, as somebody who's been reading comic books for a very long time, 24 years. Yeah. 24 years, because I just turned 28 on the 4th.
Yeah.
So, it's cool to use things that I read as a fan, and now I can apply that to my work as well. And I think Magnus very it in a way it flourished because of my various perspectives. So not only from fans' perspective on other titles, but from being able to actually sit down, go over the outline, go back and forth with Frederick about what he wanted to see and then what I was allowed to do. And I actually, a lot of the stuff that you see, I want to say issue 2 and 3 specifically, I know there was something at the end of issue 1 that I did, specifically involving the Orisha goddesses. That was me.
Oh, yeah.
It was me, and everything after that was really me. Like I got the outline and just I applied a bunch of stuff that he didn't even expect to see initially. So I thought that was pretty cool to be able to have that kind of free will essentially to do what I could on the project and just have at it any way I wanted to.
That's awesome. That's a good feeling then, to be able to see your work on paper like that. And then the artwork probably to back up the story, right? Because the artwork came out incredible, man.
Oh man, Bruno Abdias is man, he's just one of a kind.
Yeah.
He actually just won the Top Cow Talent Search. He was one of the 2 winners. There was 1 writer and then 1 artist, and he was the artist that they picked.
Wow.
So he's gonna be published in a direct market again. because I know he's had a couple other things. He did the Wesley Snipes book, The Exile.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was on. He's been on a couple different books that are notable, very notable. But this was like one of those things that I think he works very well. I know I'd worked with Bruno once before
Mm-hmm.
on Godhood Comics book Galactic Patrol Delta
Oh,
GPD. So he did the art for issue 1. I oversaw that entire project, and he's a fast worker. Like the
yeah.
man, he's very receptive to feedback, and he's
Yeah.
quick. Like you tell him to fix something, he come back the next day.
Yeah.
So I very much enjoy Bruno's work, and man, he's gonna be a hit for a long time. So I'm hoping to see him with some big accolades in the next few years.
Yeah. Well, you could tell, man, the artwork, like I said, when you're as a fan, right, you pick up comic books. The first
Mm-hmm.
thing you see, obviously, is the cover, right? So the
Yep.
cover always has to look good, right? Because that's what attracts you. But the next thing you do is you open it up before you even start reading, you glance over the page. And man, when the art is like that, and it makes it even more exciting to jump into the story. And then you have the story that backs it up. You could tell that you work really good together with Bruno
Yeah.
because right, the art has to tell a big portion of that story because you're limited on word count and all that good stuff for each panel, right? So, man, that back and forth, I call it kind of a dance between the writer and the artist. You got to be on the
Yeah.
same wavelength, right, in order for that story to be told. And boy, it comes across so good, especially some of the fight scenes at the end of issue 1 specifically are just next level.
Oh man, trust me. I think that's the fun of it right there is the fight scenes because you get to pretty much have whatever your imagination holds and just let it go. And
Yeah.
when it comes to fight scenes, I'm all over the place, and that's where I feel like is my second best uh, part of being a writer because not only do I get to do the world building thing, which I love to do that as well,
Yeah.
but to actually sit there and telegraph like what we should be seeing and then see it
Mm.
in a print with what the artist does. So me being able to put all that into a script and he put it into art, it was a match made. And man, I wish I could get Bruno for a bunch of other projects. I think he'd work well on, but
Yeah.
he's a busy guy. So am I. So we'll come up together again, obviously on Magnus, going forward. Uh, sure, I'll see him again on GPD and a bunch of other stuff. I'm sure I can work my way into working with them again. There's so much to do and just so little time it seems to get with everybody that you want to work with all the time. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, understood. Understood. Well, before we get too much into Magnus, let's just talk about Devin, if that's okay.
yeah.
You said you've been reading comics for 24 years. Where did the passion for writing start for you, Devin?
So I would say it started early on, say probably about elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those kids that literally brought comic books to school with me. Was picked on, whatever. It was my origin story, so to speak. But I really excelled with English and literature
Mm-hmm.
based studies. So I'm like, all right, I want to try writing. So I actually started writing novels early on. I had a few that were close to being finished, and I didn't think they were too good, and just got rid of them. That sucked because there were some good books, but um, I always had my head in a book, so why not write books?
Yeah.
And it was my dad's fault for essentially getting me into comics because that's how I learned how to read.
Yeah.
He had a big collection when I was a kid, and we actually both got rid of our collections later in life, and then we both restarted. So I went from having like 16,000 comics in my collection as a young person to
Yeah.
having just under 2,000 now again.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably one of the youngest people to own almost every Avengers main title from
Oh
the
wow.
60s to current. So,
Oh wow.
which is cool. Not many
Yeah.
people can say that.
Nope.
But otherwise, it's something I felt that come very natural to me.
Hmm.
I did always want to say, oh, I want to write books for Marvel, DC, whatever. And it's actually in one of my yearbooks. I can't remember what year it was, but I know I
Yeah.
was getting ready to transition from like elementary to middle school or something like that.
Hmm.
But I remember I said it. One of my teachers was like, "Well, I want to see your books." Well, I don't remember that teacher's name anymore, but I'm still friends with a couple of the kids whose parents did work at our school, so they end up getting a copy of my book.
That's cool.
Well, one of my books,
Yeah.
and it's it's stuck forever. So if not for
Yeah.
my wife, I probably wouldn't be writing comic books right now. I'd
Yeah.
probably be moping around, still reading them, and it's like, oh well, I should be doing this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing it. Been doing it almost 5 years now. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So as a writer, right, when was your first published book that you wrote?
first published book. Well, it would have had to have been 2021, I want to
Hmm.
say 2021 or 2022. No, it would have been 21 because that was a rough year for me because I was the editor for a book called Prolong
Hmm.
for Christian Herrera, one of my peers. He also does a couple other books. I forget the name of his really popular title, something about sidekick and superhero stuff. But
Hmm.
anyway, I was the editor on that book, and that was really my first published credit because I specifically remember getting comps in the mail and just showing it off because I'm like, hey, I'm published and I'm in a book, and
That's awesome.
it's one of it's actually one of those books that oh computer's not there. Oh no. It's one of those books that essentially made people cry, made me cry.
Mm.
You know, it was a very heartfelt story, and otherwise, just it was great writing at its finest. And it's just like I'm a part of this, so to have been part of this great book, it was fantastic feeling.
Mm.
And then obviously, as I continued to go on, I'd have other notable works that I've been a part of. I've been a part of, Magnus. I've been a part of Galactic Patrol Delta, um, a bunch of other people series. I know I'm about to be in Travis Gibbs' Cthulhu Invades Neverland book.
Mm.
That drops on the 18th of July, if I'm correct, something like that.
Hmm.
I know it's a day before something else I have to do, so that's typically how I remember things.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that would be my first real credit. I know the book is still available. I know you can read it on Christian's website for free, but I'm not sure if he still has any printed copies. That's something
Okay.
that he will
Yeah.
have to work out with other folks, and people that are interested would inquire. But
Yeah. So, you were talking about writing and the passion for writing from such a young age. Are there certain writers that had a huge impact on you?
um, to name a few, Dwayne McDuffie from Milestone Media,
Yeah.
he was one of those people that I kind of latched onto early,
Yeah,
just
for sure.
because I had read a bunch of the Milestone books early on. Granted, I know he had a lot of oversight into those books. He had written what I don't remember how many issues of Static he might have actually wrote,
Hmm.
but what really got me about his writing credits was the Justice League cartoon.
Mm.
He had a lot to do with all that early DCAU stuff.
Hmm.
So Justice League Unlimited, Static Shock.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't think Batman Beyond, but obviously that eventually tied in later.
sure. Yeah.
So he was a genius. The
Yeah,
man was ahead of his time
for
for what he
sure.
wanted to do, and that left a big impact on me because he was a notable black writer that I can, you know, really see myself in essentially.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
not only that, there were a bunch of other things. We had similar thoughts about how things should be with
Hmm.
comics and like all that extra stuff. So there's a lot of similarities between the two of us. Let's see who else. Ron Mars, who I actually got to meet this year for the first time. I
Nice.
met him at my home. I met him at a convention in my hometown in Toledo, Ohio, at
Hmm.
a Fantastic Con because that was my first convention ever that I
Oh,
tabled
really?
at.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I did great. I sold most of the books it came with, so
That's awesome.
I cannot be upset. But Ron, I know he had a bunch of great books he did, Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern and stuff. Um, the thing that hit for me was Silver Surfer.
Mm,
I love Silver Surfer a
yeah,
lot, and
yeah,
he's one of those unsung Marvel heroes that every time he gets a series, it usually don't last very long,
yeah,
which is unfortunate, but it's neither here nor there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Ron is a very great storyteller, and he knows how to fit stories into any little box. So, say an event comes up, he can fit it in real quick and then make it seem like the event didn't happen at all, and
Mm,
you can still progress with the story that you were telling.
yeah, yeah. That's
And
awesome.
it's a lot of stuff with Ron, so I love Ron Mars. And
Yeah.
then I will say there's one specific creator who I've followed since I um, have been reading essentially, and that's Jonathan Hickman,
Mm,
one of the best modern storytellers of
yeah,
our generation, or the modern generation, I
yeah.
should say. He knows how to craft not only an excellent narrative, but all the different infographics. He can give you a lot of information in the
Mhm.
story and then around the story.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what really got me to latch on to him was his Secret Warrior series from Marvel, which
Hmm.
was really the last greatest Nick Fury series that
Yeah.
he'd get before he, all that stuff with Original Sin happened, which
Yeah.
I can go on and on about that. But
Yeah.
but no, Jonathan is great. I still follow a lot of his work.
Hmm.
He's got a new project that's on Substack. It's called Three Worlds, Three Moons, and
Mm,
basically it takes all his ideas and he's built this crazy world with Mike Huddleston and Mike Del Mundo and a
mm,
bunch of other creators
yeah.
that they've got to come along with them. But I would say those are my you know my small Mount Rushmore of creatives that I kind of look to. There are
Yeah.
other people that I could mention, Jimmy
Sure.
Palmiotti, um, kind of Liam Sharp when he does writing stuff.
Hmm.
I know he's done some, but I ain't gonna be able to bring it off the top of my head. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he can write very well.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I'm forgetting someone very important. I can't remember specifically, but he's the reason why I stuck to the new Valiant books when they relaunched back in like 2012.
Mm.
Um, Josh Josh Dishart. There we
Oh,
go.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why it took me a long time to figure it out, but that man is a genius. Everything
Yeah.
he touches is great. My dad loved his he did an Unknown Soldier book for Vertigo DC stuff in
Hmm.
the early mid 2000s that we both
Yeah.
enjoyed. So I would say those top tier creators. I still, like I said, I still follow all their work.
Yeah.
I think I've talked to at least a handful of them every now and again, especially Josh. We talk on and off every so often.
That's
Like
cool.
he's a busy guy, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome, Devin. I mean, I think we've all been influenced by a lot of different people. And it's really cool to meet a writer and then find out what their influences are. And now, as I continue to read Magnus, it's funny when you hear of the influences of a writer. A lot of times you could see some of those influences come through if
yep,
you know those other writers, right? Which is really cool. I mean, we're all affected by others that we look up to, and so I think if you look at
exactly.
any human being, you could see those things come through. So that's pretty cool. Appreciate you sharing that with us, man.
Oh, no problem. Trust
Yeah.
me. If there's one thing I like to do is share. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're a storyteller, right?
yeah, hey, I
That's what you
have to.
do.
I have to do it.
Yeah, yeah. So then we get to Magnus, right? And so Frederick is the creator of Magnus, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That is correct.
Yep. So you two sit down, and he kind of shares his vision of what he would like to see Magnus do right throughout the series. And then he
That is
gives
correct.
it over to you for the storytelling, at least portions of the storytelling. How does that? Am I expressing that in the right way? Is that how it all kind of
Yeah.
laid out?
Yep. Very much so. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a good story. So after we had done the first three issues of Magnus,
Mm-hmm.
he had essentially given me a roadmap
Yeah.
for the rest of the first arc, which again you'll see as we continue with 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is the beginning of number 2, which
Mm-hmm.
is very important. You have to pay attention to all the little nuances from what you've read now
Mm-hmm.
up until we get to that next arc, and that's you know I'll put it like this, if you enjoy Invincible and like how that, book and the show has progressed, you'll
Yeah.
enjoy Magnus because there's a certain level of similarities when it comes to that progression.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to kind of surprise him with some things. And I think every script up until we started doing the co-writing piece, so I'd write half and he'd write half. And
Yeah.
really, it wasn't even half at first because I said, okay, well, here's a couple pages you can do,
Yeah.
and I'd write the majority of it, and he'd try to fit it in, and he'll just be like, wow, you really challenge me every time. Send one back. I gotta sit here and figure out how is this gonna work, and
Yeah.
it's true because
Yeah.
I literally sit there and take everything that he wants to see and
Yeah.
then just input it. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like a computer sometimes, how to do calculations and all
Yeah.
that. Well, that's me with narratives. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of hard work between two of us, especially on his part, because really for me, it comes natural. So
Yeah.
I just have fun challenging him with
Yeah.
the rest of it. But for what it's worth, I think what we've done together really will show. You'll be able to kind of discern whose voice is whose.
Mm.
Um, Probably past issue 7. Obviously, you got a good portion of Frederick in issue 1, but you get
Yeah.
me more, 2, 3, and beyond. And then obviously, once you start seeing the co-writing
Yeah.
issues in the future, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about here with my voice over his voice, and then
Mm-hmm.
it'll kind of intertwine towards the end, and you won't be able to tell who
Yeah.
did what. And I'm actually excited about that because nobody understands how much time I put into issues 12 through 16, and then the little special book I gave them essentially. So I really hope you're paying attention to this because I'm pretty much giving you some spoilers, but not really. And
I
everyone
can't
else is
wait, man.
watching this as well. You know, there's a lot to be had with Magnus, and I hope everybody
Yeah.
picks the book up, enjoys what we're laying down, and then continues to read it for the future. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And I love watching a universe be built like that. And so to kind of be at the very beginning when those first three issues and understanding the cosmos and everything that's going on outside of Earth, that leads to the story that happens on
yeah,
Earth. It's super exciting because to your point, you could go in a lot of different directions because there's all kinds of stories that need to be told on the backstory of who some of these people are, leading up to when they come to Earth, right, to find Magnus. So I'm super
yeah,
excited. There's like the sci-fi feel to it that I don't think we've tapped into a whole lot yet, but I feel like it's coming because it has to, right? Because
cool.
there's so much happening outside of Earth, right?
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
So what you get a taste of sci-fi these first few issues, but like it
Yeah.
just goes above and beyond because you actually get to see um, that snippet basically of the future on that
Mhm.
first page of the book for Magnus.
Yeah.
Uh, I come back to that. I literally bring you back full circle to that when we get to the second arc, and it's just like it's crazy
Yeah.
over the top. You finally get to see what exactly led to this. You get a bunch of new villains,
Yeah.
um, some Earth based and some that you've already seen. Um, Obviously, you'll be able to see more of the Orisha interactions with Earth, and then
Hmm.
I have some cool stuff lined up for um, 17 and beyond. But for now, I've just kind of been laying low with it
Yeah.
until we get back into it. So it's going to be a lot more sci-fi stuff. I want to show the fantasy aspects of it
Yeah.
too. because you can't just bring me onto a project, have African gods on it, and then not let me do what I'm good at. You know,
Exactly.
I'm very good with mythology stuff. That
Yeah.
was my first creator-owned book
Yeah.
that was published of my own, was a fantasy book. So it's just it's a lot to try to take in, and
Yeah.
I sincerely hope everybody is excited for this as I am.
Yeah.
Every time I think about Magnus, I just think about the joys
Hmm.
of being able to write this sci-fi superhero, fantasy book with that, brings all these elements
Yeah.
and works with them very well.
Yeah. That's awesome. Can you share with us, Devin, how Wise Acre is connected with godhood?
So from what I recall, so Frederick actually initially he had a project, another project that
Hmm.
he took to Godhood Comics and submitted to him in person, if I'm correct. I think he caught him at a convention or something
Like
like that.
Tyler just walked up to Tyler and started talking, and
Yep. And
yeah.
basically introduced himself. The cover was fire, what I heard, but then
Yeah.
Tyler looked in the book, basically said, "Hey, Fred, you lied to me. Like the book on the outside looks outstanding, but when you look inside, the art don't match, and that put it into perspective
Mm,
for him."
yeah.
So it basically made him change his outlook on how to create. So obviously, I think he also invested in Godhood too. So that way
Hmm.
he can learn the gems of being super successful, a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
I think I was already friends with Tyler from the beginning anyway. I followed Godhood in its
Yeah.
infancy and up until this point. So I was already familiar, but I had no contact with Tyler up until a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, they work basically in tandem. So I'm not gonna say that they're a subsidiary of Godhood Comics, but
Hmm.
their book imprint, just like any other creator-owned book,
Yeah.
um, you can go through a bigger publisher, but your brand will still be its own thing, and
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much what it is. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
you know, he Tyler picked it up, and it's pretty much the rest is history. Now you understand the little nuances.
Yeah.
Magnus will be in the direct market before long. Because
Hmm.
shoot, the antagonist for Godhood is in the direct market, and I actually pre-ordered one of them books. Well, I should be getting the whole series, but one thing at a
Yeah.
time.
Nice. I mean, that's an amazing partnership because what Tyler has done at Godhood is probably one of the top indie comic publishers in the US right now. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, the antagonist is next level. I love that story. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to be connected to anybody, I think that's a good one to be connected with. And Wise
almost
Acre,
definitely.
the storytelling and the art, it's up there at that same level, and that's why I was
Yep,
so impressed with Magnus. And I can't wait to see Crisis when that comes out. I know the Kickstarter just ended, and I know you weren't
yep,
part of that particular one, but it's still Wise Acre Comics, and
yes.
I'm super excited for Frederick and everything that he's creating under the Wise Acre brand because man, it's quality, and I hope people try it because they need to. It's incredible.
And I agree. I've already seen sneak previews of a lot of the stuff that's
Yeah,
coming,
yeah,
so I already have a clear insight as to what's going on. Like I said, I'll be on crisis number 3. I just need to get off my butt and actually look at the script and figure out what I'm gonna do to continue with it.
yeah,
'Cause, I enjoy stuff like this. Writing is pretty much the third best thing that I enjoy in life.
yeah,
Family, so
yeah,
my wife and son, reading comics, creating comics,
yeah.
essentially. Creating
That's a good
comics.
list, man. That's a good list.
Yeah, trust me, it's the greatest list I can have because two of those things go hand in hand. So,
Yeah.
I got a bunch of firepower books from Robert Kirkman's uh,
Ah.
stuff for my birthday for my wife, and I actually had to catch up because I only had the OGN that they started off with,
Hmm.
and then issues 1 through 3, and then I've been out the loop for years, and it's about
Yeah.
to come back this month, so I had to get caught up. And man, I already got to issue 12. I'm gonna finish the rest of the issues because I have 1 through 19 already at issue 12. So I'm gonna read the rest of those, and it's fun to analyze other people's work
Yeah.
in comparison to my own. I'm like, man, I should be doing what they're doing. But at the same time, the books that I do don't necessarily need that level of
Yeah.
nuance,
Yeah.
especially with panel counts on pages. Like, goodness gracious. I usually I try to keep within a set amount, so
Yeah.
it's like between 3 and 6. If I need
Mhm.
more than that, then I'll make space for it. But I try not
Yeah.
to go over panel count. So it's just like looking at this, oh, there's 7 or 8 panels on one page already, and there's like 5 on this other page. That's
Yeah.
that's too much. And it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like there were 2 panels or 2 or 3 panels was the same image, but all
Hmm.
they did was add like 2 different images off to the side. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't need all that. But that's just me. I don't know. I can't really chastise other people for their theatrical, outlook on how they put their together versus how I do it. It's
Yeah.
all, I love it all, so I can't really complain.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's probably fun, right? Looking at other people's work as a creator yourself and as a writer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's how you get better, right? And sometimes you'll see stuff like,
exactly.
man, I would never do that, man, and this is why. Or like, man, I should try that because I've never even thought about doing that on a page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's true. I literally say that stuff all the time. I'll read something like, I don't know, I'll pick up an indie book that I'll get from a Kickstarter, and then I'll look at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool. I wouldn't do that personally, but
Yeah.
you did it
Yeah.
right. Maybe if you would have split this up here, did this over there, whatever would have worked.
Yeah.
And then I'll see something like crazy, and I'm like, I have to try it. I have to try it. I have to try it. And that was me actually for like a good portion of the year. I saw so many cool things that were neat that I tried to incorporate and then just transpose it into my own, so that way it's
Yeah.
not necessarily the same.
Yeah.
Some of it worked, some of it didn't. I ended up fixing what didn't work, so that way it did work. But
Yeah.
it was cool all around, so I can't complain.
Yeah, yeah. And I noticed even in Magnus, I mean, you obviously have some panels, but for the most part, right, there's explosions on each of these pages, and those
Mm-hmm.
explosions take up the entire page, which I love, man, because then you get some like larger art and you get all the detail, which is just next level, man.
Exactly.
It's so good. I remember reading or watching an interview of Todd McFarlane, and when he was working at Marvel and when he was on Spider-Man, because they had panels. It was very, cut and dry, right? You had four
Yep.
panels, or maybe it was 3 panels, whatever it was, but you just didn't do anything outside the panels. Like all your art needed to stay within the panel. And Todd goes, nah, I don't think that's a rule that I'd like to try and break. And so without them knowing, he broke it. And I mean, that's some of the best art at that time of Spider-Man. And you can see some of those comics, 300 or whatever it is, they just go for crazy amounts, right? But I mean, he broke that mold, at least with Marvel at that time. And now it's like, that's what you do, right? In order to tell a story and to get that feeling of what's taking place to help match the words that are on the page, you have these explosions that take place. And man, the impact is so much greater. And I felt that there's a couple pages here, especially in issue 1 during the fight scene, which one of my
Yep.
favorite characters. Like I don't know if he could come back, but I'm like, oh man, like we only got a taste of him, right? So I don't want to give anything too much away because people need to get into this. But that character is dope, man. You can't have him dead.
Oh, see, and that's one of the joys of not being able to tell nobody stuff,
Yeah,
because I know what happens later, and
yeah,
I'm not gonna say you get exactly what you want,
yeah, yeah.
but kind of do to a degree, but it's not gonna be
Thank
how
you.
you expect it. So
Yeah, I'll be able to
I'll
sleep
leave you
better
with that
tonight, Devin.
tidbit.
Thank you.
Just a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I want to break your heart later. I hope you're not too mad with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's the emotion that you want to bring into a story, though, right? So sometimes, your favorites do die, right? And
And
it's
that's true.
you hate it, man, and you're angry, and I'll be thinking of
Yep.
Devin the whole time, like, damn it, Devin, why'd you do this to me, right?
Well,
But that's why
it's
I'm
because I
addicted to it.
care. Exactly. I try to tell people, when I write my own stuff, I always put my characters through the ringer,
Yeah,
because it's not because I dislike them. I love them so much that
yeah,
they need to face a lot of adversity for their
yeah,
character to grow,
yeah, yeah.
and just a bunch of stuff. Like a book that I have coming out. Well, I have the Kickstarter launches on August 1st, but the book is called Noir. It's one of the 3 new titles for my brand Epic Fantasy
Oh,
that
really?
we're launching. So I can send you the pre-launch link after
Yeah,
our
yeah,
interview.
please. So we could share that to everybody, and we want to get that
Yeah,
out there, man. Yeah.
but there's a double page spread that I really enjoy of the character Noir. You know, she's a vigilante hero, basically like my Batwoman without being, somewhat rich herself, all that stuff. But
Yeah.
basically, there's a double page spread that I just love because it's something that makes people wonder about why I did the things that I'm doing. And the villain she's facing is kind of, I'm not gonna say cookie cutter, but he's he's an average person, and he was able to do this to someone whose physical capabilities are a lot better than his own.
Mm.
And to just, man, he oh, I really can't spoil it, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
It's okay.
I'm in love with it. But I guarantee you, when you see that, you'll love it a lot.
Yeah.
So, and it's just one of those things that I truly love about creating, because you do things like that, and then people question why you did it. It's like, well, it's a necessary part of the story.
Yeah.
It gets better, obviously. Heroes win the day most of the time. They can lose some of the time, whatever. But this is one of those books that I'm ultra passionate about, and I'm just excited to finally have finished. It took me like 6 8 months to
Mm.
have the art done in between this and like something else.
Yeah.
Not to mention I've been doing a lot of work for hire stuff this the past year, so it's just been a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're busy, and I'm glad you got a lot of stuff coming out. When do you think we could see Magnus issue 4? Do you know when that was supposed to launch?
It was slated for this summer, but I think some things got pushed back just because you know, we want this to be the perfect
Mhm.
project for folks. So if
Yeah.
you don't see it this year, you'll probably see it early next year, if I
Okay.
had to guess.
Very good.
Um, like I said, it's one of those things. It's a labor of love. Sometimes
Yeah.
you gotta push things back in order to make it the best project that it'll be.
Yeah.
And trust me, I'm no stranger to it myself. But I
Yeah.
think once we do bring it out for you guys, it's one of those things that you'll want to give your entire bank account for. So please do, because we need the money. No, I'm kidding. But
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm
I
all
just
in, my friend. I'm all in. I'm sucked in.
I can't remember if he showed the cover for it yet, but I've seen a lot of those pages. We introduce a key character that you'll see going forward. I'm not sure if he showed up in issue 3 or not. I don't want to spoil it if he did, but somebody very important to Magnus.
Hmm.
So just if you already read it, if you're out there listening to this, you've already read Magnus, and you can kind of feel where I'm going, then that's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
what it is.
I
But
think I know exactly what you're saying, but I won't say anything.
excellent.
Yeah. I
As long
certainly
as
I
you
want people
understand.
to pick this up because it's that good. And
Yeah, and I try to tell folks, like, I think I sold two of my comps, because I one of each issue. Um, and at my first convention, I took them just to show them, and then I had like a post-it note saying, "Hey, go get them from the website."
yeah.
I'm sure some people did, whatever. But then there was a little girl that come by. I was gonna give her a free book. I was like, "You have any book on this table? What book do you
Yeah.
want?" And she pointed to Magnus #2. I'm like, "Just for you, I signed it for. I signed it for her. I took
Yeah.
a picture with her, with it in her hands. That was the best day for her." I'm like, I'm not even mad that I got rid of it. And then
Yeah.
I think I sold like, no, I gave her issue 1, and then I gave my brother issue 2. I have issue 3 running around here somewhere.
I wonder if it had something to do with the goddesses on there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of them.
All of
And
them,
like
right?
those are
Vulcan,
my,
Ocean, and Yamaya.
yep.
Yeah.
They're my favorite trio. There's other gods and goddesses
Yeah.
that you'll see, but it's just those 3 for right now are the ones that you can tell have a lot of influence on
Yeah.
what goes on, especially
In the
uh,
universe,
you know,
right?
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
in the universe. And then,
Hmm.
granted, there are surely other gods, playing around too, but this,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the most part, this is their influence that's being spread. and
Mm-hmm.
some gods have it out for humanity, some don't.
Yeah.
It's part of the same pantheon, but for the most part, these few are trying to help. There's a
Yeah.
greater cause plan at work, and they're trying so hard to keep things under wraps, and it's not gonna stay that way. So
Yeah.
godly interference is going to be stopped eventually, but how it's
Yeah.
going to be stopped, you'll just have to wait and see.
I love it, man. I love it. I had a real quick question about you.
Yeah,
Orisha. And in issue one, it talks about Orisha, and that is if I looked it up because I didn't know what that word meant,
mm,
and it has to do with the focusing on the nature of the parts of gods, if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken, between
So
humanity and the gods, right? It's kind of the in between, right?
yeah, pretty much, and that's kind of how we play around with it. So
Mm-hmm.
um, you see the relationship between both
Yeah.
humans and the gods, but the specific person that they're interacting with is
Yeah.
Magnus.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to figure out ways to showcase other people
Mm-hmm.
in the Magnus universe that also have the same contact as
Yeah.
well, but I want to put it in a way that is used more for malicious intent as opposed
Mm.
to the heroic nature of, say Magnus and his family and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So, but it's just one of those things that we got to play around with, see what works, what doesn't. Um, you already have a good set of antagonists already
Yeah.
with um, what did we call them? The misfits or something
Yeah.
like
The
that.
yeah. Yeah. The
Oh,
miscreants.
miscreants. There
Yep. The
you go.
miscreants. Yeah.
So we got that little group, and then on top of that, we still have their boss that we haven't really seen. We saw his silhouette, if I'm
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. From behind, we
Um,
saw him. Yeah.
yep, and he's a force to be reckoned with as well. But there's another person that they still got to worry about later on as well. Well,
Yeah.
people and all sorts of crazy stuff is going to happen. Eventually, government interference, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they see superpower beings, and just it goes off the walls. And obviously, to combat this, emergent threat, you got to be able to counteract it with something else. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that I really enjoy, layering the story with. So you get equal parts of everything. So you get Magnus, you get, all that. You get everything
Yeah.
wrapped in a great, book, and then you have to steadily wait for each one to come out with anticipation. So that way, when it does come out, it's like, there you go,
Yeah.
I got it. Give me the book.
Yeah.
So I'm um, hoping we can get these next 3 or 4 issues out
Yeah.
in within 18 months time, because there's just a lot of great
Yeah.
stuff going on, and I would hate for everybody to have to wait like forever for it, but it's just
Yeah.
like I said, one of those things that um, for great quality it takes a little bit of time.
For sure.
So
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I could wait. I mean, I would rather see it in the quality that I've already seen it in.
exactly.
So, yeah, no, I completely understand that, Devin. Although I am anxious to see what happens next, I still think there's enough people that need to read the first 3 issues so
Yeah,
that they could have that
definitely.
same excitement for issue 4. So hopefully we could help get the word out because this is like top-notch quality. And man, I really love the story. So maybe we could kind of talk about you and your project. You said epic fantasy, maybe to kind of close out, maybe utilize this
Yeah.
opportunity. Is there anything else that you want to share pertaining to epic fantasy and what we could see in the near future?
So there's a lot going on as far as what I'm doing with Epic Fantasy and my brand. Essentially, um, I originally created it just for any books that I was going to have
Yeah.
out, and I was like, that's boring. Why do it alone? So I originally had a couple friends, so come on with me. Unfortunately, one had to drop out just due to health reasons,
Mm,
but I did get his book into the world outside of just say, I think he had it on webtoons originally, and it wasn't coming out steadily enough. So
yeah.
we put it in a physical form. That was our first Kickstarter, the Sentinel, that
Sentinel.
kickstarted last September. That was our first crowdfunded book.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second one was Bearer of Ages that actually came out earlier this year in February. We launched and then we successfully funded. Had the books already done essentially, so all I had to do was print. I got them right before my convention, sold a bunch of those, and packed up the books right before that, and then shipped them all out that following Monday. And I think
Nice.
that was a lot of packages. There was like 80 packages I sent.
Oh
Like
wow.
post office was like, that's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of is. I did it all by myself. Well, mostly by myself.
Yeah.
But from here though, there's a lot going on. So for those that are in the know, you already know about my newsletter, which you can sign up for. I have a link tree on my Twitter account.
Okay.
So if you everybody goes and follow me at CB Devin95 on Twitter. Uh, there's a link to my link tree, and it basically shows you everything from my Instagram, uh,
Mm-hmm.
my portfolio work, and a bunch of other stuff. And the Epic Fantasy newsletter is part of that. Epic Fantasy as a whole also has its own separate Twitter page.
Mm.
Um, so that way, any updates that we do on our separate profiles, we usually tag Epic Fantasy in it as well. But from
Okay.
here, we have 3 books launching in August as a part of our Kickstarter. Um, Endless Hunt by C.J. Hudson and Rio Burton. Noir by me and Ben Worrell. And then we have our final book, which is Granite by C.J. Hudson and Fritz Casas, who does a lot of great work. But basically, we wanted to have 3 awesome new titles. We Endless Hunt is a fantasy book. It's a great title, which basically follow a king going on a quest basically to get his wife back, his queen
Mm.
back from a druid who has her captured. But obviously, as the plot thickens, you understand a little bit more why things have happened and why the title in itself is called Endless Hunt.
Mm.
Noir is a vigilante superhero comic um, that I created. Basically, follows Noir after she's been run through what I've called the Gauntlet by her arch nemesis, the director, who was like my riff of like Mysterio, but he's just kind of like an average dude who's kind of an asshole. So uh, it's a cool book.
Yeah.
Right, book's being colored right now, and it's looking great. And then our final book is Granite, which is another superhero esque book, but it's more it's kind of more adult. Like
Yeah.
she's a partier. She's in the spotlight all the time. She's wild. But basically, Granite, uh, this one shot, and they're all one shots. Um, Granite's book specifically focuses on her losing her abilities and how she's
Mm.
going to cope with
Mm.
just being an average person. But there's a little bit more to that because she's being essentially hunted down by a villain that she put down early on in that same issue. So it's a fun dynamic and how she's gonna work out being just an average person when she wasn't used to being average. She hasn't been average in a long time.
Yeah.
And to go from super hero to super nothing, it just nah, that ain't her lifestyle. She was cool partying and lose your
Yeah.
abilities, it sucks. But those are our current offerings for this year. Now, I will say if you all sign up to our newsletter every month, you get a free comic that you can read. So
Mm.
it's a new comic story every month. It can be anywhere between 1 page to 12 pages is usually
Okay.
what I tell folks. So, but since we're still in the early stages of that,
Yeah.
uh, it's just one of those things that it's going to take time. Obviously, I've got another story that needs lettered, and then a couple more to get done. But it's just I gotta try to chop things up time wise. And then from there in the future, I want to say next year, we'll have a couple more books that I'm excited for folks to see. The one in particular is a Western for me. And that'll be like a premium book essentially. So um, you'll be able to read that for a very low fee, maybe like $1 or $2.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I do it on Patreon or straight through Substack, I've yet to determine that. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, you'll get a page or two for however many weeks for the first chapter, and that's going to run probably for a few years. So
Mm.
there might be a short hiatus between chapters, but each chapter is at least 20 pages, at least. Um, I know I just got done with the prologue recently. I think I showed like 2 pages off on Twitter recently, but I see I'm so busy I can't necessarily remember everything we got going on.
Yeah.
But no, we have a lot lined up. Try to give everybody a little bit of everything. So instead of just superheroes and all that, I'm trying to be diverse in my offerings and who I bring along with me on the journey, essentially. So I'm
Yeah.
hopefully gonna draft in a couple more friends, see who wants to be a part of the crew, and then go from there. But in order for me to do that, I have to finish up commitments and what have you, and just keep having fun doing it.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, I also will be doing, some promotional stuff for people that do subscribe
Mm-hmm.
eventually. So I know I have a convention coming up in September. If as long as everything works out right, everybody that's a part of the newsletter that does not live in my area can still get this book that I'm offering, which again is a premium, offering later on as well.
Nice.
Um, so I'm just hoping everybody enjoys what I do,
Yeah.
um, and all the different books that I'm trying to give folks. And I just want other people to enjoy books like I do.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, man. That's what the community, that's what I like about the community. That's what it should be about. And so, yeah, I'm glad that that's your feeling too, Devin. And I certainly enjoy your writing so far through Magnus. So I can't wait to get into some of the other stuff that you got going on Epic Fantasy.
Oh, trust me. I think if you enjoy my work with Magnus, you'll enjoy a lot of what I got going on. Now, I will say
Yeah,
not everything I do is for everybody. So if you don't like
yeah,
something, let me know.
yeah. It's all
My feelings ain't gonna be hurt or nothing, but
good.
you know, just keep your ear to the ground. Make sure to subscribe to that newsletter. Follow me on
Yep.
Twitter. I have an Instagram that I very rarely use, but I'll probably use it as promotional for everything
Yeah.
else. And then yeah, it's just keep in touch with me, guys. Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to give you guys cool stuff, and if this is any incentive to follow me, I'm gonna give out a key Kickstarter reward that I have for
Nice.
those with a little bit of money in your pocket and want a cool opportunity. But there's a tier that I call the investor.
Mm.
So basically, you can get for 18 months, you'll basically be able to get anything that I launch or release in I try to give everybody something physical. So say I launch like 4 Kickstarters next year, you'll get all of that without having to put any extra down. You'll just get it to your door, and you'll get it
Nice.
first. Typically,
Nice.
is the plan. But on top of that, you also get to create a story with me as part of that'll drop during the newsletter every month for the monthlies, which is what it's called. That's the program for my monthly comics. It's called the monthlies. So basically, for whatever amount of money that you pay, you get everything in the campaign. So any variant that we have to
Mhm.
offer, all that, you'll be able to create two story for the monthlies that'll drop whatever, however I schedule it. And then you'll get every book that we release for the next 18 months. So that's actually a steal and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Uh,
sure.
but not everything is cheap,
Yeah.
and these things do cost money to make. But for those that do want to stay in the know and have an exclusive, hey, I got first sort of mentality and got to read something way before folks, and they can tell people,
Yeah.
hey, got to go back this book. They have the power to do so without having to sit in anticipation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm one of those people that would probably in a heartbeat do something, but it has to be for the right project.
Yeah. Yeah. For
I'm not just
sure.
going to give it to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome, Devin. Well, I'll make sure I put in the YouTube in the inscription. I'll put all your information. That way people can easily just follow you. But yeah, you got to follow Devin. You got to follow Epic Fantasy to get all that stuff. Join the newsletter. You also got to follow Wise Acre. Make sure that you're purchasing Magnus. You could purchase it, I think, at wiseacrecomics.com, correct?
Yep, wiseacre.us. So
okay, wiseacre.us. Yep.
And they actually have prices on the website now as well. If I'm
that's right.
I just looked at it yesterday. And,
that was a successful Kickstarter, right? So now they have it available
as well.
Yep. Nice.
So go get it all, guys.
Get it all, man. This is quality indie comics, man. It's as quality, if not better, than the big two, I think. So I love the art, all that good stuff.
He's right, you know.
Well, Devin, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on, but I certainly wanted to talk to you and tell you how much we appreciate Magnus, and then just learn a little bit more about you. We'll put all your information, like I said, in the comments section. That way you could follow Devin. But Devin, thank you so much. Really appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate being able to come on and speak more about Magnus and everything that I'm doing. You know, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you. And then as we get closer to your Kickstarter, let's have you come back on so we could spend some time on Epic Fantasy and the 3 issues that is coming out on a Kickstarter.
Most definitely. I'd love to.
Awesome, man. Well, Devin, have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. And you take it easy now.
All right, my friend. Talk soon.
Take care.